everybody. So as always, if there's anything anybody would specifically like to see addressed tonight, you're welcome to put it in the chat. Otherwise, we will work with what comes. YouTube is trying to push all of these different features on me, and I just want it to leave me alone. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's just sink into the room. Slow ourselves down. We're going to step out of the stories of our day and just into this comfortable moment. And if this moment doesn't feel comfortable, it's because you haven't stepped out of the stories of your day. There's only one moment, and it's this one. So let everything else go. Now we're going to move up and down the mountain a few times. So place your attention up at the upper center. So that's a large ball of energy encompassing the crown and the center of the forehead. Okay? And just breathe from that space. Give your attention to the upper center. We're doing this because we just need to even out the energy a little bit. Just a little bit of an ephedra feeling that we need to calm down. Make the center of that sphere of energy, that ball of energy, your center. And everything expands out from there. That's how you anchor yourself in a state of consciousness. You let go of everything else, and you just make that the new center. And let yourself stabilize there. For anyone just coming in, we're doing our movements up and down the mountain. So we're at the upper center right now. making the center of that sphere, that ball of energy, we're making that our new center. Letting go of anything that isn't that. To master that skill is to master the ability to step out of anything you're stuck in and step into anything. You do this naturally whenever you're really listening to somebody. You know those conversations where you're just completely connecting? That's a part of you that has kind of left your center and stepped into the center of someone else. You're able to feel what it's like to be them. You're able to understand them. Humans shift their center all the time. It's actually how communication works. The more flexible your center, the easier it is to understand what people are saying. But throughout our day, we mostly allow our center to get determined either randomly by what happens, or more common just by our fears and desires. We become so in touch with what we're afraid of that becomes our center and we live in reaction to it. In a class like this, I only ever really ask you to do one thing, and that is choose. You make a choice to shift your center, to shift your attention. We do it in many different ways. I say it in many different ways. Because once the mind says, I already know that, it closes the door to something that's actually endless. You'll never know it. It's not a thing you can know. It's a direction you can reach. You'll never know it the way a flower will never know the sun, and yet, in its eternal reach for the light, it will participate in the interplay of sun and earth. That's what your reach is like. Give yourself to the upper center. And now we're going to practice that shift. Shift from the upper center down into the heart center. Make the center of that sphere of energy your new center. Abandon the upper center wholeheartedly. Let it all go and shift to the heart. Shift to the heart center as if you have always been at the heart center, as if you will always be at the heart center. Forget everything else you know about yourself and about life. And do this timelessly. You need to slow way down. Some of you are still pushing yourselves outside of the moment. There's nowhere to go. Arrive. Arrive. Arrive right here, right now, centered at the heart. Can you feel the strength of that? The stability that comes when you really finally choose. Release the heart into that ball of energy. Make that part of you vulnerable. Make the heart vulnerable so that it can absorb. go of the heart and come down to the lower center, just below the navel and a few inches in. A ball of energy that encompasses the perineum and goes just a little bit above the navel. Center yourself there in that physical center. That center is denser but no less divine. It's as spiritual as anything else. And you have to be able to step into life with acceptance. Step into that center. Step into your body with complete acceptance. Rise back up to the heart. Let go of everything that isn't the heart. Can you feel the heart lifting with your attention? Now that you're a little pulled together, And now rise back up to the highest center, the upper center, forehead and crown. For a moment, notice how different it is. And then forget what came before it so that there's nothing to compare. There's a teaching trying to come through. Let's see if we can talk about it. You know, in shamanism, there is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and that word is freedom. In shamanism, that's sort of that common goal that all spiritual paths walk towards. That's how shamanism tends to describe that goal. And it's a very misunderstood word, freedom. Because I think people are generally clear that the freedom that's being described is freedom from the dictates of the personality. Freedom from the mind. I think that's pretty easy for people to grasp intellectually. But then when they go to try and get there, first they try getting there through rejection, where they basically just push the mind away or hold it with concentration at bay. And you come to realize that, you learn a lot from that, and you should practice that, but you come to realize that it's not an ultimate answer because you can't sustain it. It is a non-sustainable energy source. That concentration uses energy. And so it's not just you being you. It's you taking on a posture and holding something in place. So it energizes you, it moves power and clarity through your system and facilitates realization. But it's not freedom, and it's not the answer. Then people start working with transcendence, which, we teach that in this class. That upper center is a transcendent center. You can feel it. It pulls you out of all of that, and you're just hovering above it, hovering above the life story, kind of free from it. When you're really given to that, you are no longer being directed by it. And we can say that that's freedom. There are paths where that's the main freedom. The original Buddhist teachings, before he switched from Hinayana Buddhism to Mahayana Buddhism, were more like that. How long can you stay in that space, hold that space? but it's not really freedom. You know, when I lived on my monastery, I would drive 7 hours back to Seattle to make my living. I would work 5 days a week, dragging my massage table around and doing just healing work on people. And it was great because I had to learn how to sustain my wakefulness off my monastery. You know, my teacher always said I was like the only student that came back the way I left. And I had to learn that. Whereas the majority of them were really good at staying clean in an environment that was built for practice. But if they left, they were sucked into everything. You know, they were completely vulnerable to it. So just being able to step above it and transcend it is not freedom. You need to be able to be in it and still be free. All of these things are worthy steps. I just describe it like this to help you get an idea of what is ultimately meant by freedom. Because your view of it will change over time. It grows and deepens. It looks very different to me now than it did back when I was where a lot of you are at. And my teachings have changed over the years to reflect that. And it's not that one set of teachings was wrong and the other was right. There are different teachings at different levels of consciousness, and we don't stay in one place. What it looks like now is that we all enter into this world. You know, we're born into this world, which is really a very tight tapestry. We are brought into a thread of that tapestry. And we really can't escape it in any meaningful way. To rise above it is to pretend you're not in it. It allows you to see who you are without it, and that's got value. That's I've spent 20 years teaching people how to do that. But there's always further to go. You know, you're stuck in this tapestry, and it's tight. You know, anything you do affects every other thread around you, and anything those threads do has an effect on you. You know, every little thing. If you allow someone to abuse you, you have had an impact on the tapestry just through permitting it. You know, there's now a thread that is that much more empowered to behave in that way. You know, I can't remember if I told this story or just thought about telling this story. But like, you know, every day I sit in these lines of traffic, and you know, you get into a line to get onto like an express lane, and then there are all these cars that, you know, want to cut the line and get in. And you see these people who just let them in, you know, and they just think they're being generous. And it's like, well, actually, no, you're making a choice for everyone behind you to let somebody cheat at your expense and at everyone's expense. And they'll be just that. And that's the reason people do it, because there's always someone who's going to let you do it. You know, so we have this responsibility and this tight woven accountability for every word we speak, every action we take, and every thought we think. They all make everything move. You know, that's where the shamanic teachings of living impeccably come in, like literally doing your best to function at your highest level of wakefulness in every moment. Because you're that accountable. You create reverberations in your world that then come back on you and the people around you through everything you think, everything you do, everything you say. If you could really see it, it would almost be paralyzing. So what is freedom within that? Do you remember those Chinese finger cuffs? We call them Chinese finger cuffs. I'll probably find out that that's like just some weird cultural appropriation. But those things where you put your finger in it, and the more you try and pull your fingers out, they tighten around you so you can't get out. That's kind of how freedom works in the tapestry of life. You can't actually get off the thread, at least not until you die. And even then, most people will have so many things pulling them back into the tapestry. The only way to be in it and become free of it at the same time, the only way to get out of Chinese finger cuffs, is to relax and stop fighting. You have to be able to sit with what's in front of you in complete acceptance, while simultaneously acting when it's time to act, not allowing somebody to take advantage of you, or if something is being put on your plate that is damaging and you don't act, you've stepped out of just the natural flow that's there for you to accept. And you've rejected, and things will tighten. You've now had an effect on the web by permitting something. But if instead you just accept the fact that you've stepped into this ride of life, and you live it out impeccably, in as full awareness as you can muster in any moment, and it'll rarely be close to 100%. I go up and down too. That is actually the road that takes you to an ultimate experience of freedom. It's also the road where the majority of your lessons are and the majority of your power is. Because all the things that you resist in life are just lining up, waiting to pop onto the screen so that you can face them. Your resistance is an attention that you actually hold on them that makes them build up and magnify. Chinese finger cuffs. That resistance makes it tighter around your fingers. Quite a different approach to freedom than transcendence. Transcendence and concentration can make you very powerful. You can work miracles with it. It can teach you all sorts of things about life and how it works. But it can't set you free. Some of the things you learn can take you to realizations over years that can set you free. But the practices themselves of concentration can't set you free. The only thing that can set you free is showing up, living out your moments impeccably, and dropping all your resistance. If you escape your life to go live on a mountain, which teachers do that all the time, and attain your awakening on that mountain, when you come back down, you're going to fall back asleep again. Because you're going to have to step into all the things that you didn't learn how to not resist. So what that means is your life is perfect. Your life is giving you everything you need to learn and grow towards the only thing worth having, which is you. Your freedom to be you. Your life is giving it to you lock and key with what it's going to take for you specifically to wake up. Every challenge is just a perfect formula there to help you find your freedom, if only you'll show up for it and systematically drop your resistance. There's no getting out of the tapestry. At least not as long as you have a physical body. You have to find your freedom within it. Almost every religion has found different ways to say that, even Christianity. When they say the kingdom of heaven is here and now, that's what that means. You find it right here in what you're in. So we give you a safe place in this class to practice dropping that resistance. But it can't stop there. At some point, you need to wake up in the morning and remind yourself that you want to grow today, that you want to show up, that life has your permission to just bring it on. And just be grateful that you have something there to shake you loose. Are there any questions about that before we go back into meditation? All right. So, back to the forehead and crown. And try not to intellectualize what I just taught you. Teachings like that, they just need to go in. They'll take root and then they'll come forward in ways that you can work with. down to the heart. Drop down to the lower center. Really root in that lower center. Feel the weight of it. Really accept it. Accept that thread of your tapestry. You are here in a physical body. this earth. Rise back up to the heart. What if it's all fine, exactly the way it is? What if none of this is a problem and it's all fine, exactly the way it is? What if all this struggle is just you being confused over the fact that everything is fine? What if there's nothing that has to change? This, right now, what if this is just fine, exactly the way it is? Done. Complete. Nothing to do but live it out. In full released awareness. You can feel that, can't you? It does something to your body, doesn't it? The truth always feels good. Ultimate truth. I ask it as a question because your mind is an answer machine. And if you ask it why or how everything is fine, It'll search its subconscious for answers to that. But you're fine exactly the way you are. You will continue to grow, and that's fine too. You'll step into new things, and that's fine too. But if you're starting from a place of rejection, then that step into that new thing is going to have jagged edges attached to it. It's not going to feel right. And people won't respond to it as well. To get where you want to go, you have to first accept where you are. And then from there, just let your heart open things up in front of you. What if it's all okay exactly the way it is? This week, once a day, I want you to remind yourself that you are stuck in the tapestry of life, and that you can feel everybody else's movement around you, and that all you have to do is let it be okay. Stop fighting it. Stop resisting it. Let it go. Stop fighting it so that it stops tightening around you. Alright, guys. Any questions before we end the session? You did great. The room's very still. Alright, I'll be here next Thursday. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.